Oh yeah, thanks, man. You were telling me when we were what's it called, emailing back and forth, and then maybe I just read this wrong. Do you live like, are you like living on the road 24/7?
Yes, I live in a self-converted van. I don't like using the word van life because that's like a big trending word.
That's
But but yeah, I converted a van a couple years ago and moved into it, and I've been in it for 2 years now. Drive pretty much in Spain, really, to be honest. But
And what do you do for like for work, and how do you like survive financially and everything?
it's a long story, but you got time, I guess.
Yeah, fuck yeah, we got
Yeah, hell
time.
yeah.
I want to
Yeah,
hear it.
I do you know when I was in the UK, I was working doing video marketing, and I wanted to. I used to make documentaries and stuff for athletes, and I wanted to make small videos for businesses for YouTube, but no one really understood what YouTube was and didn't see it having any potential for anything, to be honest, which was I thought was a bit nuts. And so I was doing that, but I was doing okay. And I met a lovely young lady. We fell in love, and 1 year after we'd been together, she had a cardiac arrest and she died in the shop. But in the queue behind her, literally the person behind her was a paramedic on his break with his ambulance outside. And had he not been there, she would have died because he used do you know the defibrillators, the electric things you see in the movies?
Yeah, yeah. You rub them
He
and
had to use them, and he brought her back to life. So she was gone for 2 minutes. Then she came back. But after she came back, she was paralyzed in one leg. She had brain damage. She was really, really sick. She was full time in a wheelchair. And yeah, we'd sort of lost everything. I had to lose my business, and
who
we
is
had a house
this?
as well at the time. This
Who?
was in 2015.
No, who?
My girlfriend, my love,
Oh, okay.
Danielle.
Sorry.
Yes, and you were saying in your podcast earlier about having a heart attack young. She was 29,
Whoa.
Uh,
and
See, Abe?
so it
See?
does happen.
Yeah, it does happen. Thank you, Luke.
And she was just shopping, carrying paint in the hardware store.
I was just on the
Jesus.
toilet.
Yeah,
Damn,
yeah,
that's
and she had
intense though.
that, and then yeah, she's afterwards. She was just not the same, and so I had to stop working. And we had a house that we was renting out, and we had tenants, so they would come in and we'd just manage the house. And we had multiple rooms, but we had to put the house for sale, just to have some money to live on. Now that I wasn't working, she wasn't able to work, so we had to sell the house to use that money to like full-time live. And yeah, the doctors basically said there's no reason, no answer. It just happens sometimes. And I was really unsettled with that answer because I was like, "What do you mean just happens?" And they said, "Oh, it's gonna happen again." They said within 5 years, she goes 99% chance it will happen again. And they just said she beat the odds by surviving the first one. They said if you have a cardiac arrest, you got a 10% chance of even surviving it.
Jesus.
But and it's worse than a heart attack because most of the cardiac arrests, they they don't get sort of noticed because once you have one, you die. So you go through the funeral, you go through the grief, and then it's old news. Whereas you have a heart attack or you have cancer, everyone sees it for a long time and watch you slowly suffer and the after effects. So it becomes more publicized, more noticed. Whereas cardiac arrest is the number one heart killer,
I didn't know
and it's like
there were two different things. I thought it was just
okay,
another
so
name for the same thing.
no, so a heart attack. Let's say you can have a blocked artery, your heart can just go into a spasm and sort of lock up like a cramp, and you can have a heart attack and different sort of degrees of how bad that is. Whereas a cardiac arrest is the heart keeps beating and the beat keeps going faster and faster and faster until it cuts out.
Wow.
It's like a trap
So the
song.
so yeah, so it just stays on and it keeps beating and it just increases in the beat until it just stops.
And then the bass drops.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a trap song, dude. That's
yeah,
scary as
and
fuck.
yeah, and they said there's no known like cause, no one knows. They said it's just stress, and I was like, what do you mean just stress? And we're like, who's not got stress? Do you know what I mean? I was
Dude,
like,
I
this
had a
doesn't
heart
like
attack, man. I'm
yeah.
really starting to think I had a fucking heart attack. Or I'm sorry, partial cardiac arrest. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, so I was a full-time carer then, and I was like, oh man, this like, what can I do? So I was looking for answers as to. I was going to the doctor like all the time. I had ambulances out every month, and I was just getting given more and more drugs. They were just giving me drugs for this, drugs for that, and then you get they're like the side effect of the drug. Here's a side effect drug. You know, here's an anti-sickness drug. Here's a drug. Now you're constipated. Here's another drug so you can go toilet. And it was constant until she was on like the heaviest dose morphine that they could give me. They were giving me bottles and bottles of liquid morphine, and I was like, I don't want to be giving her this stuff. She's losing her mind, you know.
Hmm.
And I used to be a personal trainer as well when I was younger, and I was like, it just hit me one day. I was like, no one X-rayed her back, no one X-rayed her neck, no one checked her nervous system. So I was like, who the hell checks a nervous system? So I'm googling it. We went to neurologists and stuff, but they didn't do no X-rays or check. And it made sense to me if the heart didn't do what it's meant to do. Maybe there's a communication issue between the brain and the heart. So I was looking it up, and then chiropractor came up. And I was like, what the hell's a chiropractor? I had never even heard the word. I didn't even know what it was. Then I was doing some research, and there's pseudoscience, all this, and I was like, I've got to give anything a go right now. So I took her to one, and from day one, she had improvements. The first sign of any improvements was from her first visit. But we kept going, and then like she just didn't get any further. And the guy said, he goes, I'm your local chiropractor. He goes, I'm not some sort of like healer. He goes, I don't know. He goes, maybe you want to find a better chiropractor because we're not all the same. And we ended up coming to Spain to a special chiropractic clinic that specializes in like extreme cases. So we sold everything we had. We traveled into Spain. I took her there, and like she only just made the journey because even the car was like just making it like heart. We had a little heart rate monitor, and it's just every so often she's nearly going back into a cardiac arrest. And then after like a year's treatment, now she's just incredibly better. It's been a few years now, and now she can run. She was told she'll never walk again, and she's told she'll be dead within 5 years, and it's been 6 years.
Wow.
And not only is she not dead, she's up walking, her brain's back, her memory's back, she can talk, she can do everything she's told she would never do. And like I said, I wouldn't say it's solely chiropractic care that did it, but that was a huge part. And
what were the adjustments that they did for her?
Well, first he said, I told him the story. She came in and he goes, well, I want to do an X-ray. He goes, I want to check. And he showed me all the diagrams, and he's like, look, he goes, here's your heart. And he goes, this is your anatomy. He goes, there's basically a cable that goes from your brain. And he goes, there's 2 places on the spine, on the central nervous system that go to your heart. And he goes, if we show on the X-ray that there's some sort of pressure there, he goes, that could be what's causing a missignaling to the heart. And showed me the X-ray, and exactly on there, it was like properly out of alignment. You could see that the nerves were like crushed. So he was saying when she just done a little bit too much, she wasn't able to communicate, like telling the heart to slow down, to speed up. You know, like if you run up the stairs, your heart speeds up. Then when you sit down, it starts to slow down, but you don't have to think about that yourself. Your body's doing it. Whereas hers wasn't able to do that correctly. And that was like, yeah, just a massive eye-opener for me, because I was like, I didn't even know what a chiropractor was.
That's
and
amazing.
since then, I've been to loads myself. I've been traveling to all different ones, to meet different ones, to train with different ones. And yeah, it's just crazy, man.
That's amazing, man. That's a crazy story to go from, partial brain damage, paralyzed in one leg, and just telling her that, like, yeah, you kind of got like 5 years, so good luck with that. To now she's running, like, and now we're at 6+ years. Has she had any type of since those past 6 years? Has she had any type of like heart problems or anything? At any moment?
In the first like 3 years, it kept like every so often we'd get like a scare. We think something's coming back. Like in the first year, I still like we had to go to an emergency center because I thought something was happening, and she was like losing her consciousness, and cost us like $4,000 or something in Spain to go to private healthcare. And again, they didn't check her spine, they didn't check all this stuff, but the chiropractor was closed because it was in the middle of the night. So I was like, what can you do, So I was like, I'll just go to the regular one, and they're just like doing all these tests and stuff, but not one person was looking at the spine. And even though the owner of the hospital is like a doctor, he came down and it was like something out of like Scrubs or something. Like it was like a big show, and all the other doctors and all the nurses were all like in awe. And and still, and he just at the end of it, he's like, I know what it is. And he goes, here's some medicine. And he just said, oh, you've got this, what's it called? Familiar Mediterranean fever. And he was explaining to me, because it's just a super rare condition. He goes, where your body just inflames sometimes. So here's a drug for that. And she tried the drug, and she got sicker.
Oh my God.
So we quickly got rid of that. Went to the chiropractor, and he said, "Yeah." He goes,
"It's like the rheumatologist. It's like the rheumatologist that gave me the anti-inflammatory the other day, and I'm over here on the toilet."
Yeah. What do you think an anti-inflammatory does?
I just thought it makes your body not as inflamed.
Hmm? And what's inflammation?
Hey, Luke, you're talking
Yeah.
shop. I don't, I honestly don't know the answer to that. I don't know.
Yeah. So think of your body. It's like if you got a car, a vehicle, yeah, you go to a mechanic. If you know a little bit about your car and how it works, you know when someone's just selling you something. You
Yeah,
know when someone's actually not looking at the body to fix it. They're just trying to keep it ticking over, get you to that 65 years old, retire, and you're done with a load of illnesses and not living a life. So that if you get overly medicated, that's what happens. But you need to take like independence of your own health.
exactly.
And
Yeah, yeah, you're
there's so
right though.
much
You take
information
one
out there now.
medication and then you take a bunch more, and you're always just like like there shouldn't be aisles in stores selling
Yeah,
pain medications. It's like that. There's a problem there, obviously. If everyone's in
there's a
pain,
yeah, there's a
if everyone needs medicine.
yeah. Like I'm not anti-medicine. I'm not anti, say, pharmaceutical drugs, but I am anti like letting other people take all the responsibility. The doctors are busy enough as it is, and we don't know our own body. It's like something I took for granted in my life, and it took her getting so sick of me to witness it to really take that in.
Well, with the girl that the woman you love, right? The girl you're with.
Yeah,
Um, so before she had that cardiac arrest around 6 years ago, right?
yeah.
Is there still things that she can't do today, or she has a tough time doing today, that she was fully able to do before that episode 6 years ago?
Yeah, she's still not as physically strong as she was then. Like before then, she was exercising a lot. She was doing kickboxing, all different like activities, and like I said, and working really hard. And now she's just building that, like in the last year, really. She's just starting to train again. She's just starting to exercise again. Because she was in a bed for a full year. She lost like all her muscle mass, all her fat. She was like anorexic, and she was on loads of drugs. She was like losing her mind, like she was literally going crazy. She was thinking all sorts of weird stuff was happening. And yeah, so she had to just even get her mobility back from being bedridden for so long, as well as getting the function back in her leg. It was like her body just deteriorated in that time.
And then how are you guys today, like surviving financially and everything, with living
Yeah, so
uh
we sold a
and all that?
house 6 years ago. We moved to
Okay.
Spain because when I was in England as well, I needed to look for somewhere now that was on a ground floor, had a bathtub because I was washing her and she couldn't stand in the shower.
Oh wow.
I wanted a garden because I couldn't take her more than like 10 minutes down the road without her being really sick in the motion of a car. So I was like, I need a garden, I need a ground floor, and I need a bathtub. And in England, that was costing me £1,500 a month in the area I was in.
Come to New
And
Jersey.
that's like 2 grand, that's like $2,000 roughly.
Yeah.
And I was like, the money that I sold the house for is going to disappear so quick, and she'll
Hmm.
still be sick, and I won't be able to get a job. And I was just going through it when it didn't make sense. Then when the chiropractor said like, go check out another clinic, found one in Spain, checked out the rent there, and it was more than like half. So I was like, if I go there, I can make the money last a little longer, care for her, and just get ourselves back on our feet and start working again and living again. And it took longer than I had expected, but I got my hopes up high. I'm very ambitious, so I was like, yeah, this will be done in 6 months, Something ridiculous, even though it said it's impossible. I was like, yeah, well, 6 months we'll do it. And yeah, and then when we was in Spain, then was like, right, we've got to make this money last longer. It's like, let's get somewhere cheaper. Now she was a bit more functioning. We went out and got somewhere really cheap in the middle of nowhere, real isolated up the mountains. And then I was like, now we need somewhere a little cheaper, make the money last longer. And one day she was like looking at vegan recipes, and she came in and she's like, she goes, I just saw this couple. She goes, they live in a van and they're making recipes. And she goes, they seem so happy. They've even got a little kid and stuff. And I was like, oh yeah. She goes, do you think we could live in a van? I was like, yeah, why not? And then two weeks later, we bought a van. And yeah, a couple months from that, I converted it and made it into a livable space. And then as soon as our contract ran out, we moved into the van, and it costs us now €700 a month to live, and that's including our insurance, our tax, our food, and we have a lot of animals as well. And that's their food.
A lot of animals. This is
Yeah,
Noah's Ark. This is
yeah, man.
Noah's Volkswagen.
Yeah, so we got a Mercedes Sprinter, like it's fairly big, small compared to a house. But the week, what was it? 2 months before we moved into the van, she went for her very first walk in the countryside, and we went for a 5K walk. Took us like 5 hours because we had to keep stopping. It was like her first getting going. And during that walk, we found this little dog, and he was all shy, and he was like, came out, he followed us, and we didn't give him any food or anything. He followed us, and he followed us, and he followed us for hours, and then he followed us all the way home. And then we left the gate open and was like, well, that's nice. He came to see us. And then the next day he came back. And every day for 1 month he left and he came back. And we was like, never fed him. Where's he coming from? And in the end, we was getting ready to move into the van. We was like, you know what, we'll take him to the vet, see if he has one of them chips. And he didn't. And was like, right, we're going to take him on the road with us. So we rescued him and took him with us. And she saw him like an angel. He got her to walk so much more because she was so happy to take him for a walk rather than push herself. It was like he was pushing her. So she was going out for more and more walks, getting her legs stronger and stronger because of the dog was just like her companion. And so he came, and then like literally a week before we moved into the van, we was at a little cafe sorting out our last plans, and there was this manky little cat sitting there. And the lady who owned it said it's getting put down this week because it's a nuisance because it keeps coming back and it's all manky. And she was like, why don't we take it? And if it just runs away, it runs away. At least it lives. I was like, I've already got a dog I wasn't expecting. Why not have a cat as well? So we took the cat as well. And we got the dog and the cat to be friends, even though he wanted to eat it first. And then we found out that the cat was pregnant. And was like, oh. So after being in the van for a month, the cat gave birth in our shower to a load of kittens. And then I thought I would rehome all the kittens somewhere nice. Now it's been 2 years later and I kept them all. So we've got 4 cats with us now and a dog that travel with us everywhere.
And look at that. You went from your love of your life possibly, dying to now we got 4 cats and a dog together.
Yeah, and we all go on hikes together. They walk with us all off lead, the dog and all the cats, and they come everywhere with us. We pull up, we open the door, we let them out, we whistle, they come back. They're like dogs.
That's crazy, man. That's awesome.
And it works perfect because I'm like, what are you guys? I heard one of you's had a cat. I think
Jem used to have a cat, but I'm pretty sure Jem hung himself midway through the story. Like, Jem, you're right over there. You leaning back on your chair, just like, oh, whatever, man.
No, I'm good. I had a cat growing up. Yeah.